I'm going to show you the welds that I did. They're not deep, but they're sufficient. Okay, there's a weld and there's another one. You can see they're barely penetrating the sleeve. I tried to concentrate mainly on keeping the weld on the plate and then just swinging over and touching the sleeve to get a little bit of hold. That's about all you need. Now that fits pretty tight in there initially. I have to drive one end down to get it into place. But once it's in place and welded, that's strong enough to pull it out. You usually hear a little snap when the sleeve lets go and starts to come up. The other thing is, make sure you thoroughly heat that. Run a torch on the inside and go all the way around top to bottom. Get it warm, and then after that you can start putting this plate in and welding it, and by that time it's cooled down a little bit and it'll contract off the block slightly and comes right on out. I was kind of concerned about how to pull these things since they're so thin. Again, this is a 4-inch bore and an M Farmall with thickness of the sleeve. Let me pull it. I'm going to let that bolt drop. But you can see at the bottom here, I'll tip it upside down. You see how very thin that is. You know, that's not very much. If you tried to pull from the bottom and lay a plate or disc across this and pulled with all thread through the top, you don't have really any surface here because you have to make it small enough to clear the block, yet big enough to get over this edge. Now in a 3 7/8 hole, that probably wouldn't be an issue, but on a 4-inch hole, these sleeves get mighty thin. Here's the way I pull a sleeve out of an M Farmall. This sleeve is very thin since this was a 4-inch bore. If you have a 3 7/8 inch bore, the wall thickness would be the sleeve thickness would be a little greater. You'd have a chance of pulling it from the bottom. What I did with my friend Gary is we actually made a piece of cut a piece of 1/2 inch flat bar, and we put that in the cylinder, and you can see over on that side a spot weld, and then on the opposing diagonally is another weld, and those two welds are what's holding that plate in, as well as the plate being sized so it fits quite snugly in the first place. So anyway, this is a pretty easy method. Once you get it packed in there, have this all thread. I'll show you the top. Just set this plate across the bolts. If the bolts aren't quite the same height, shim it with whatever material to make sure you're pulling on a straight plate. And then you just run this up, and it pulls it right on out. At the end, when you get near the top, you can finish up with a couple taps of a hammer. But since this is a dry sleeve, the weight or the pressure of the sleeve within the block is pretty much constant. But as you come up a ways, you're pulling a lot less surface, so it gets easier. And you can see I'm really not straining on this one. It's coming on up. It's just a matter of cranking. So I won't show you all that cranking business, but anyway, you get an idea, one way of pulling the sleeve. Now be careful when you weld that. I use a wire welder, and I don't hit it very long. I don't think you can see the backside, but the backside, oh, here's the backside of a weld. I can't really see that. But anyway, the outside of that sleeve has got a little discoloration, but no penetration. So you don't want to weld too long, because if you weld that sleeve into that block, you got a serious problem. You're going to end up chipping it out in all kinds of nasty ways. But this is a way to pull it with the piece of metal in there. Okay, thanks. Just finish it up with a few light taps on the plate. There she is. I'll come around the other side and pick it up, and that's it. We're done.